Gretchen, Mike, and I, as Yonka has introduced us, we went to Turkey in June 2012, which is about a little bit over half a year ago. And we found Turkey to be a really amazing place. None of us have been to Turkey before, so this is like our first experience with the country. And we found it to be fascinating because it's at the intersection of Middle East and Europe and also Central Asia in terms of culture and geography. So it's geographically really strategically important, as some of you already know from the news. So I'm just going to show you about 15 minutes of slideshow and of the pictures I've taken from about 10 different cities in Turkey. We went to 10 different cities within 12 days. So it's a lot of city hopping, very intensive tour. Every day we only slept about 4 hours. So this is Istanbul, the apartment in Istanbul. And then this is Hagia Sophia, the Orthodox Church of Holy Wisdom. And this is Sultan's Palace, the main entrance. And this is another entrance to the Sultan's Palace. This was built in 1460, and this is a map of the Ottoman Empire, which lasted from about 1300 to 1919. And this is one of the apartments of the Sultan's Palace. You see the round domes. That's Eastern Orthodox architecture that influenced a lot of Islamic architecture in Istanbul. And that's the library of the Sultan. And this is a symbiotic tree, a tree within a tree, within a Sultan's Palace garden. And this is a train in Istanbul for public transportation. And this is one of the main entrances of Hagia Sophia, which is an Orthodox church that became a mosque after the invasion of the Muslims. This is the ceiling of Hagia Sophia. You can see that there were some, the previous slide, you can see there were some fish, that's an Eastern Orthodox symbol. And this is the Mother and the Christ with the Emperor and Empress of the Byzantine Empire, the Eastern Holy Roman Empire. And this is another view of the interior of Hagia Sophia. As you can see, it's very gilded, very beautiful. And you see there some Christian icons on the ceiling. And this is a vendor outside of the Blue Mosque of Istanbul. You can see Blue Mosque was built and completed in 1616. One of the largest mosques in the world. And the main entrance to the Blue Mosque. And Blue Mosque. You can see that in Islamic architecture, because they don't allow human icons in there, so they rely a great deal on intricate designs and turquoise intricate designs. It's very a form of art. It's very highly developed. And stained glass windows. There's no human image on it, as you can see. And this is the worshippers in the Blue Mosque. Because the interior is kind of a turquoise color tone, so it's called the Blue Mosque. Yeah. And this is me. And this is once again the train in downtown Istanbul. And this is the atrium, like the underground water system that left over from the Roman times in Istanbul. And this is the governor of Samsun. And we saw a lot of weddings there because it's in June.
I have no idea who these people are.
Yeah, but you see, we took pictures with them. They loved it. Bride and groom. And these Turkish flags.
They're actually relatives of mine.
And this is our host, one of our host families. They are only in their 30s, the couple, and this is his wife. She's only in her 20s. As you can see that this is a whole family, extended family, in their summer home where we went to be their guests. And these are the children. And this is, we all wear the same hat to take pictures.
It's a tradition, right?
But just to have fun. And this is her mother, you know, this girl's mother. And this is in the sock factory, yeah, on the Black Sea. You can see that the workers, you know, fitting different sizes of socks, and this is some of the workers. And this is the governor of the garrison. He spoke very good English. And this is a wedding sedan. And you see, another wedding couple in the park on the Black Sea.
More relatives of mine.
Yeah. On the Black Sea. And this is a traditional Turkish instrument. And this is the Eastern Orthodox Church. This is Mustafa, another host family's child. You can see his polo shirt. The polo is so big. Yeah. And this is on the Black Sea. And this is our driver, chauffeur. He's from Kyrgyzstan. Yeah. He said that his family fled to Turkey when the Soviets took over Kyrgyzstan, generations ago. And this is, yeah, on the valley, in the valley, yeah. A lake in the valley. And this is Sumela Monastery, and this was, this monastery was created in the 4th century A.D. Eastern Orthodox Trabzon. It's in Trabzon, yeah. You can see that it depicts different stages of Christ's life on the murals outside, yeah. And these are our tour guides from Kansas City and Lawrence. They are Turkish, yeah. The PhD students and candidates, yeah. And this is the interior of the Sumela Monastery with all the Christian icons on the ceiling and the walls, depicting different stages of Christ's life and, you know, yeah. You see this on the cliff, mountain cliff. Sumela Monastery. And this is Ataturk. They're the founding father of the Turkish Republic in 1923. And this is their model school. All the students here are they all won European Science Olympiad. You know, they are very good science and math students. Elite students from Turkey in the school we visited. And this is their band. And this particular school has only boys, yeah. And this is their Turkish parliament in Ankara, their capital. And this is the garden of the Turkish parliament. Another building near at the parliament complex. And this is one of the main entrances of the parliament. And this is their deputy speaker of the house, a graduate of Columbia University, PhD. And you see Gretchen there, taking a picture. So I'm taking a picture of her taking a picture. And this is Ankara, their capital. Yeah, and this is their countryside. Yeah, another, just like Monet's Impressionist painting. Looks very nice, I thought. And this is their Turkish ice cream vendor, a boy. And this is at Cappadocia, yeah. And some of those little holes are for doves. Yeah. Pigeons, yeah. The small holes are for pigeons, the big holes are for humans. Dwellings, early Christian dwellings. And this is their dinner table inside the rock dwellings of early Christian monks. This was created as early as the 3rd century AD. Christian monks lived in there. Yeah. And this is a carpet factory in Cappadocia where we visited. You can see that it's semi-mechanized carpet factory. And most of the workers are women. And this is silk cocoons for making silk carpets. Yeah. And this is a map of the Silk Road from China to Turkey. That has been the travel route, Silk Road, for more than 2,000 years between the Romans and the Chinese Empire. Yeah. And then this is how they streamlined the silk. Yeah. And this is bundles of silk. And this is a food art in a restaurant on the Black Sea. Food art again. Yeah. And then this is Cappadocia. And some of these are natural geological formations. I mean, it looks like you're in outer space, but it's actually natural. And some of the early Christians also lived in the caves in here. And that's me there. I think Gretchen or Mike took a picture of me. Yeah, and this is from inside a cave we can look out. Yeah, and this is their ovens of the early Christians inside the cave. More cave dwellings. And you see how they build, houses that fits the landscape. And this is their underground storage space for their grains. And this is Turkish natural Viagra. Yeah, this is me in Ephesus, which is the one of the places where Apostle Paul went to spread Christianity. And this is our group from Kansas. And this is Ephesus again. You can see Greco-Roman architecture. The different types of Roman columns. And their main goddess is Artemis, which is Diana. Okay. Before the Christians, and this is goddess Nike, which is a goddess of victory of the Greco-Roman tradition. And this is the library of Ephesus, the facade over there in the end of that. Yeah, and this is the entrance to a Roman public bath. All these architecture is more than 2,000 years old. And this is Medusa, the woman with snakes. Is there her hair? Yeah. Medusa is a temple. Mike there, yeah. And this is the Greek inscriptions in Ephesus. The main library's front entrance of Ephesus. You see the Roman columns are the ones that left standing. All the buildings collapsed except the columns for some reason. And these are the milestones. In the Roman times, it used to be every mile there will be a milestone to mark there's another mile. Yeah, and this is their theater. It can accommodate more than 20,000 people. And this is the legendary Virgin Mary's home after the crucifixion of Christ. Yeah. And this is the pottery workshop where they sell potteries. And you can see that they made everything. They craft everything with their hands. This is very high art, It's like in the US you have to be able to go to a museum to see this, but here you can go to a store and see this. all like handcrafted, yeah. Yeah. It has like a lot of colors. As you can see, intricate designs, all hand painted. Well, I cannot bring all of them home, so I took pictures of them.
Hold on like this.
Yeah, these are Christian icons for souvenirs, yeah. And some of the Muslim art from the Ottoman times. And these are the wax figures of Sufi dancers. Dervish, whirling dervish, yeah. And these are the instruments they use for whirling dervish. And this is a student that's going to be initiated. You cannot have food or drink for 48 hours. And if you pass that test, then you can join the Sufi school. And this is a circumcision party in Manisa. Yeah, for the Muslims. Yeah, and this is one of the congressmen of Manisa. Yeah, Mike is in the background again. And these are two students from Turkmenistan, Central Asia. And these are our host family. Salman and his wife Yasmin. And this is oil painting in their living room of Istanbul. Yeah, and this is one of the storefronts of Istanbul. You can see the architecture is very European in Istanbul. Yeah, and this is Bursa, across from the strait from Istanbul. And this is their water fountain. They wash themselves before they pray. And this is just something that's given to them by a Chinese relief agency and a relief agency in Istanbul. And this is their apartments. And we went in there. This is our group again. You can see we eat on the floor for that particular day. Mike and Gretchen.
Pretty tired.
Look good, huh? And then this is the sisters that cooked for us, you know, in the host family. And this is the Bosphorus Strait that divides Asia and Europe in Istanbul, and some of the sceneries along the strait. And this is a bridge that connects Asia and Europe in Istanbul. And this is one of the summer palaces of the sultans. And fortress of the Bosphorus Strait. You see this building is kind of interesting. Looks like it's terraced. And another bridge connecting Asia and Europe in Istanbul. Yeah, you can have a round trip boat ride for an hour and a half on the Bosphorus Strait. Yeah, and this is a cruise liner. And this is the University of Istanbul main entrance. You see women with Western style attires and also Muslim attires. And this is one of the graduates. I took a picture of her in June. She graduated from the University of Istanbul. And this is in front of one of the restaurants. And this is a grand bazaar. As you can see, it was established in 1461 in Istanbul. You can buy all kinds of things in there. A lot of tourists are in there, yeah. And each store has a specialty. Like this one, you know, sells decorative lamps. And this one is all plates, decorative plates, instruments, Turkish instruments. Another lamp store. We have shoes and hats. Yeah.
Hookah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like tourists from all over the world there, and this is a T-shirt of all the important places, and you can visit, and yeah, and that's it. Now Gretchen is going to be talking next. The one thing good about my trip to Turkey is that it kind of get my curiosity going, and I came back and I did my own research a little bit about Turkey afterwards. For instance, I used to have silkworms as my pets, you know, because I came to the States when I was 12, but during my childhood I lived in Taiwan, and my pets were silkworms. And so when I saw those silk cocoons, it really reminded me of my childhood. And so I did a little bit of research about, you know, how did the Turks learn how to, you know, make silk. And I found out from a world history book that I did some research out, you know, during the summer after I came back, that they actually, 2 Christian monks smuggled silk cocoons from China in the 6th century AD. And that broke the monopoly of the Chinese from making silk. Because up until that point, the Romans only got silk from China. Yeah, but since the 6th century AD, the Byzantine Empire, they sold a lot of, you know, silk to the Romans too.
Okay, as you can see from Doris's wonderful slides, Doris is a fantastic photographer, and she took, I don't know, 1,000 or more slides. She took the most slides by far of any of us. I am a historian, and I'm also somebody who's really interested in social change. So what you're going to hear from me is a different take on Turkey. And I'm just awed when I hear her remember all the details about the ancient history that I heard too, but I didn't retain. Right? So, and then Mike will be talking a little bit about the last 6 months, what's been going on in Turkey, and opening it up for some conversation about that. Okay, so you heard her say we went to lots of places. If I stand here, am I in your way? Anybody? Am I blocking you? No? Yes? No? Okay. These are all the places we went, and the theme of what I'm going to be saying to you is these 3 words: stability, prosperity, and service, which I think really, to me, characterized modern Turkey.
Do you want me to do that?
That would be great. Maybe wave at you. Okay, so first, stability. For the last 10 years, Turkey has been governed by one majority party. There are more than 20 parties in Turkey, political parties, but the one that has been governing Turkey since 2003 is the AKP, or the Justice and Development Party. It is the party that has been extremely successful, and Turkey has been extremely successful. While the rest of the world has been going through global distress, a general global recession, Turkey has been really flourishing. It is 17th in the world in growth rate. It is expected to move up to 6th in the world fairly soon. It has been really thriving. So, okay, so let's go to the next one. Turkey's also prohibited the death penalty. There are ways in which it has been moving on an agenda.
Can I get the right one?
That's fine. Just towards civil rights and human rights. I'll come back. I'll come to this one in a minute. And they prohibited the death penalty in 2010, and they took a referendum. 83% of the public voted to prohibit the death penalty. They also have been rewriting their constitution to try to change the role of the military. Turkey has been hampered over the last 80 years by a series of military coups that change government regularly. That has not happened since the 1990s, but we'll get to that in just a second. So they've been rewriting the constitution to reduce the role of the military. They have been trying to expand human rights and civil rights. There's been a little bit of more regressive activity in the last 6 months or so that has raised some questions internationally about whether they're heading too far in that, if they're heading off that course. They have provided protections for people who identify as practicing Muslims. And we'll get to how Turkey didn't provide those protections prior to the AKP party coming into the majority party in 2003. Okay, it is also a very prosperous country. We're just going to zip through some of these slides. You're seeing malls. I'm just trying to pick out just some typical shots to give you a sense of the prosperity. The kids you saw already, look at their instruments. Friends University has a tremendous music program that I'm not aware of are having as wonderful equipment as the kids at the school we visited had in Ankara, this private school in Ankara, which I should not say that without checking with my music department, but okay. Turkey also, surprisingly enough, has a higher percentage of its women CEOs than the United States has. Turkey has 12% of its chief executive officers being women, and the United States has 3.2%. It provides medical equipment, and we saw the sock factory. Like, you want to go to the next, Dixie, would you go to the next and then to the next? These are just giving you kind of quickie shots. The sock factory you've seen. Okay, stop right there for a minute. This is the Black Sea port that you already saw some photographs of. But just to give you a sense of the prosperity of it, things look very prosperous. In 20 years, the average lifespan in Turkey has gone from 60 to 71 for men and 78 for women. There's a national health care program that has been very successful that emphasizes preventive medical care and free family planning. And there is a woman in the parliament, the only woman in the cabinet, who is in charge of family planning and the medical aspect of the government. Okay, so another one. And you already saw the circumcision ceremony. What I wanted you to look at, you saw this as a party. We happened onto this party. We were walking the streets in Manisa, and in the town square, this big party was going on. We'll go to the next one too. And just look at the people, because you'll see a great variety of dress. Some people have the hijab, some women wear the hijab, some women do not. Up in the corner, you see the Sultan's band, a carryover from the Ottoman Empire. And a secret that you in this room will know, that only the others on our trip knew, is that the Speaker of the Kansas House until January, Michael Neal, who was on our trip with us, was asked to come up. They thought he was a member of Congress, so they brought him up and they asked him to conduct the Sultan's band. He's very conservative. And so he started to conduct the Sultan's band, and the person who was introducing him to this role said, "Would you please say Allah Akbar?" And he stumbled and stumbled and stumbled, and finally he said, "Well, just say Muhammad." So he said Muhammad, and went on to conduct the band. We all got pictures of Michael Neal in this interesting role of conducting the band. This is the actual director. Again, showing you business people all across Turkey have joined in a business association called TUSCAN. There are about 45,000 of them. They're mostly 30-somethings and some 40-somethings who are, generally speaking, active in the Islamic community, but active in a kind of new version of Islam that emphasizes service and that emphasizes taking your piety into how you treat other people. And so this TUSCAN organization was very interesting to us. They hosted us everywhere we went. They paid for our meals. They would host us in their homes. They would have parties, and they were mostly young business people who were wanting to start alternatives in Turkey, like set up private schools, private hospitals, private universities. Not because prior to that there were no. Prior to the 80s, there were no private institutions like that. Okay, let's see, where am I on my slides? I think we want to go to the next one. This is the family, that's what the family we stayed with. Doris showed you other pictures of this. This was our last, I think it was our last night, eating in the home. This couple couldn't have been more than their early 30s. And his sisters lived with them. They had a very nice home in what, from the outside of the building, looked like a kind of rundown neighborhood. But it was actually a wonderful apartment inside. And they were young business people just getting started, and they hosted us to a meal, which was part of the discipline of this organization, the TUSCAN organization, and many of the others that we saw. Okay, the idea of service is something that is expressed in Turkey through the relief organization, which is called, in English, Is Anyone There? I love that. I think it's a great, is anybody there? And it grew out of the Turkish earthquake in 1999 that killed 50,000 people. And they decided it was time to have a relief agency that could respond not just to crises like this in Turkey, but all around the world. And they have programs, health and education programs in 75 countries. They have come to the United States, sent aid to the United States for Hurricane Katrina and for Hurricane Sandy. And they have collected funds to help in all these events. It's very impressive what the work that they do in their relief work. They do not their relief is not contingent on your being Muslim. They help all people And it's written very strongly into their constitution that they are open to all. There are 30 branches in the 81 states or provinces of Turkey of this relief organization. Let me go next. This is another example. That is the apartment house on the top floor of which this woman, and you saw her husband with her endorses slides, hosted all of us to an evening. Here we are sitting around on the top floor, way up overlooking the city of Manisa. And then to our surprise, this was about almost midnight, 2 young men who were studying to be whirling dervishes came out and did scriptural dance, sacred dance for us, which was absolutely breathtaking, high above the city, overlooking the city. It was an amazing evening. When Mike and I were shopping in the Grand Bazaar, we quite by accident, buying some spices, we got in a conversation, as we are wont to do with every chance we can with people. And the man we were talking to, whether they want to or not, the man we were talking to said, oh, we were asking about the HISMET organization, which was the group that was sponsoring this trip that we were on. And HISMET means service. And he said, oh, my son went with them to work in the Congo, and I have been supporting a school in the Congo ever since. They do incredibly important work, and I'm so proud of what they do for Turkey. Okay, having said that, everywhere we went, we were given gifts. This is part of the Turkish culture, to be extremely generous. We had to buy extra suitcases to carry the gifts home. It was really quite touching and awesome to be treated so graciously and hospitably. Okay, Parliament. Back to Parliament. Just a few facts about Parliament. Parliament, like the state of Nebraska, has one house, which Benjamin Franklin would tell you is a much more democratic way to govern. If you have only one house and not a Senate or a House of Lords kind of arrangement. There are 550 seats. About 11% of the seats are held by women. 60 women hold seats in the Parliament. There are, the AKP party, as I said, has held a majority of the seats since 2003. There is a Kurdish branch. The Kurds are a group in eastern Turkey that have been, some of whom have been fighting the Turkish government for, we're now going on 17 years, off and on, wanting a separate Turkish state. And there were Kurds among the leadership of the group that we went with. There were Kurds we met with in Parliament. But there are other Kurds who want an independent Kurdish state. And that's been a real challenge for the Turkish government. Recently, the Prime Minister apologized for some massacres that had taken place under the leadership of the Turkish military out in that area where the war is going on. And there have been times when they've come close to a peace agreement. Most notably in the 1990s, when all of a sudden there was, after a peace agreement was worked out, the Prime Minister and several generals mysteriously died. The suspicion is that it was murder, that it was assassination of a popular Prime Minister. So the Kurdish situation is not totally resolved. Just recently they discovered, and just this summer they discovered some more mass graves. But the government is giving to young Kurds who will come and join Turkey and be part of Turkey and not try to break away from Turkey, like the Confederacy of the United States, right? Or all those states today that want to break away from the United States, the 13 or more of our states that are now today signing those petitions. The government has offered them relocation, economic aid, new identities if they were formerly guerrillas, if they will put down their arms and come and be a cooperative part of a unified Turkey. Okay, Parliament. I love the orange. Don't you love the orange? Just look at the sign, the inscription. You won't be able to read it. It's in Turkish. Across the top, we'll come back and we'll close with that inscription, and I'll tell you what that means. This man is a Kurdish member of Parliament. We met with, the Deputy Secretary, the second highest person in the leadership of the Parliament, as Doris told you, and then these are other members of Parliament. They hosted us to a luncheon. Okay, next. Okay, I think I need to give you just a little background here. Ataturk, whose picture you see in 3 places in this slide. Can you find it? all three places. Ataturk is the blonde, blue-eyed, well, at least the blue-eyed, Turk who created the Republic of Turkey in 1923. You must display his portrait, and that has been true since Ataturk became Ataturk. Ataturk was a name that he created, and no one else in Turkey may have that name. But Ataturk created a secular state in Turkey that allowed all religious groups freedom to operate within Turkey. The only exception to that is that because Turkey is 99% Muslim, there were rules passed that said, laws passed that said, if you were a visibly practicing Muslim, you could not enter the university, you could not work for the government, you could not work for the university. So, and if you were an imam, the equivalent, I guess, in Christianity to a local pastor, you received every week from the government a set sermon that you were to deliver. So it was a secular state that was leaning over backwards to make sure that there was not any preference given or any special protection given to Muslims. So you were actually more protected if you weren't Muslim. All right, so if you are a practicing Muslim, that became a problem. The AKP party attracts especially people who are practicing Muslims, who believe that this is something they really believe in practice. So as you can imagine, that creates a tension. For 80 years, Ataturk's group, the people who followed Ataturk, the Kemalists, had been in power in Turkey. And now you've got, for the last 10 years, you've had this new group that welcomes Muslims and that wants to change those laws and has succeeded in changing some of those laws so that now you can wear the scarf if you are entering the university or working there or in a government job. Okay, this is the Prime Minister, Erdogan. In Turkish, it's pronounced Erdogan. The G is pronounced like a W. He is extremely popular in Turkey. His party has been re-elected and with a larger margin than they were elected the first time, which had not happened in 52 years in Turkey. He himself has been elected 3 times, but before that he was mayor of Istanbul, and for reading a poem was put in prison by the Kemalists. He served 4 months and he got out, and then founded this new party that has been the popular party of Turkey for the last 10 years, the most popular party for the last 10 years. He's a very independent-minded man. He has relations, Turkey has diplomatic relations with Palestine and with Israel. Turkey is not immune to criticizing the United States, although the United States supplies its military force, it supplies its arms, its military is really dependent on for supplies of the United States. They produce just about everything else, but their weapons are heavily U.S. Okay, next. Note the neighbors. Turkey is in a tremendously good position to be an influence in the world. It sits between Greece and Bulgaria, and then Lebanon and Syria, and Iraq and Iran, Armenia, Georgia, etc. It is the bridge, it is the literal bridge between Europe and Asia. And it is a Muslim country, but not an Arab country. And it has a diversity of groups. It is mostly Sunni, but it has Alawites, Shia, etc., Sufis, etc. Okay, next. Thank you. The Economist recently said that Turkey was the most promising place for investors, and that membership in the European Union was within reach for Turkey. In fact, Prime Minister Erdogan made a speech recently, I think Mike might mention that, or may or may not mention that, where he said, he raised some questions about whether they wanted the union. But that's another open question. Erdogan is an extremely popular man. Okay, so what are the dangers Turkey faces? Before we go there, I'll just
Another one?
go back to the.
Oh, okay.
If you would go back to that. Yeah, that's it. The dangers that Turkey faces is that Kemalist group that came out of Ataturk. That came with followers of Ataturk that created this secular state that bent over backwards to be a secular state to the extent of that it actually alienated many of its practicing Muslims. One of the dangers is that they have a history of coups, military coups. And in 2003, 5,000 pages of documentation were turned over by a couple of generals who knew that Turkey was about to experience another military coup. And so those men, 100 of them were arrested. They are working their way through the court system, those generals who were involved in that coup attempt. But that's always something that the government is fearful of, because the stability and prosperity of Turkey rests on its stability. If another coup comes along, everything could be up for grabs. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, I hope I'm making that clear. Okay. All right. Last but not least, you want to go up, right there. Yeah, this is the next one. Go the other direction. Yeah. Right. Go later. Okay. The man that you see pictured in two places here with Pope John Paul and with leaders of the Orthodox Church and a cardinal is a scholar named Fethullah Gulen, who is the author of many books, scholarly books. I brought one along, and if you want to look at it, you'd be welcome to take a look at it. He is kind of a modern-day Gandhi or Martin Luther King. He is a scholar who came up with the ideas in the 60s that the Abrahamic faiths, that Islam, Judaism, and Christianity had in common a service ethic that said we should be serving other people. We should be helping other people. And therefore, if they could come together and around that service ethic, we could bring peace to the world. It may sound like a pretty naive vision, but think about all the naive visions that most of us in this room have witnessed come to life during our lifetime. You know, Matt, South Africa, apartheid, end of apartheid, the end of the Marcos dictatorship, the civil rights movement in the United States. And you can go on and on and on and name some pretty amazing things that happened out of naive ideas of movements, right? Okay, so Fethullah Gulen was voted by Foreign Policy magazine in 2008, said he was one of the world's top 100 public intellectuals. He doesn't want religion to become a tool of politics. He wants separation of church and state. He's very adamant about that. I put up his website. I'd encourage you to go look at it, because there's just lots and lots of material about his views on the website. But he is also somebody who has inspired people throughout Turkey in all sectors. So the businessmen's group is inspired by him. The journalists who have formed their own Journalists and Writers Association is inspired by him to try to bring together all different competing viewpoints. Think if we could do that in this country. We could bring together all these disparate voices and say we ought to all be part of the dialogue about the future. And so the newspaper that takes the biggest newspaper in Turkey, the Zaman newspaper, which we'll see in the next slide, takes their inspiration from him. And they have journalists of all religious groups, all ethnic backgrounds, all political viewpoints writing for that newspaper. It's the only newspaper that is delivered at your door in Turkey. You see the delivery over there. And they have a television station. They train young people to be good journalists, and they win all kinds of prizes for pictures like you see up at the top of the photograph from the Arab Spring. Okay. Finally, Mr. Gulen people who don't like his ideas have moved against him. Turkey still suffers from a structure that has its National Security Council with superior power to its parliament and its president. They're trying to rewrite their constitution to change that, but it is still there. And the head of the Security Council took Mr. Gulen sued Mr. Gulen, brought charges against him for trying to create a religious state, which is against Turkey's constitution. Mr. Gulen has said over and over again, I'm not trying to do that. I am only saying that if we bring all the religions together and emphasize service, we can find a way to peace. He was brought up on charges. They found that the only evidence that the Security Council had against him were his ideas. and that you can't put someone away for ideas. The Security Council appealed the decision to release him and to find him not guilty, and the Supreme Court in Ankara found him not guilty again. But wisely, he decided to leave the country, and he's come to the United States. He's been living here for some time in Pennsylvania. He's not very well. He's in his 70s. But his ideas, if they had found him guilty, anybody who was inspired by his ideas, all those private hospitals, all the Business Association, the Writers and Journalists Association, the Relief Agency, all of those would have been closed down and their money taken by the state, because if his ideas were, because they haven't yet gotten enough of they need more than a half of the Parliament to change the Constitution and do something about the power that this Security Council has. Okay, finally, we have witnessed, the next one please. This is another picture of some of the young journalists. These are the schools that are where young people are working. And just leave it there if you would, Dixie. We've witnessed in the last 20 years, since the end of the Cold War, many nations making dramatic shifts away from authoritarian to democratic regimes with varying degrees of success. Turkey, the verdict is not totally out on Turkey. As I said, they haven't yet changed the constitutional power that the Security Council has over every elected person who governs Turkey. However, the signs are really encouraging, as long as there is not a coup, and as long as our military does not come down saying, go along with some of the propaganda that has been circulating against Mr. Gulen and anybody who believes like him. There's been a lot of propaganda. He's a CIA agent, some people have said. He's a radical Islamist, a jihadi, right? Look at the difference between those accusations. How can you be a CIA agent and a jihadist? But anything that will work to discredit these ideas. So as long as we don't see our government come in to try to undermine this movement, I think Turkey is on a road that's very exciting and very hopeful. I said to look at the parliament, the inscription on the parliament. This is what it says. It was the words of Ataturk originally, and what it says on the parliament is, the sovereignty of Turkey unconditionally belongs to the people of Turkey. Turkey is moving in that direction. And as it said in the high school that we visited, one of the slogans on the wall in the high school was, the one who is out of sight, should not he be sheltered also? I probably raised a lot of questions, and we'll have some time for some questions.
Stretch your arms and wave to people and say assalamu alaikum or whatever you want. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Two really good presentations, thank you. My job is to present 2 or 3 current concerns that face the country of Turkey that have been developing over the last couple of years and then getting more intense over the last 6 months and currently are becoming very intense. Before I take that step, I want to advertise for a presentation that I would be glad to make on the Gaza Strip. That I went to the Gaza Strip, as some of you know, in April of last year. I have a PowerPoint presentation, and I've made that presentation to a couple of different groups here in Wichita. I would be glad to do that with other groups, church groups, faith groups, non-faith groups, anything you would like. And I'd be more than glad to bring that presentation in and talk about that particular very interesting and just very difficult, conflictual part of the world. So just to let you know about that. Gretchen mentioned the EU question, the European Union question. And for several years, Turkey has been advocating to get into or to achieve European Union membership. A lot of energy, a lot of time, a lot of money has gone into that effort. However, over the last year, 6 months to a year, there have been voices raised within the government and within non-governmental agencies and organizations saying, look what's happening to Europe. Look what's happening to Iceland and to Ireland and to Spain and to Greece and to Italy in terms of the economy, in terms of jobs, in terms of the governments, in terms of the banking industries.